Anybody that has been on the Navajo reservation has either probably heard of some creepy things or have experienced pretty creepy things happening to them, namely skinwalkers. Believe it or not, I have seen one, and here is my story. I come from a small town in northern Arizona that's sandwiched between the Paiute Reservation to the north and the U.S. largest Navajo reservation to the south. My high school being so small, a 1A high school that has on average 80 students enrolled every year, and I always had to travel south about 5 to 10 hours one way to play another high school in any sport. I remember the basketball coach saying that the school didn't have enough money to put up the teams in a hotel, so we were going to be on the road for a total of about 12 hours. I was the only male senior to play basketball that season, and we had just got done playing our game, and we were headed out, and it wasn't long, about 2 hours of driving before we had entered the res. By this time, everyone was asleep, with it being about 2 in the morning. When we had crossed the res border, I noticed the bus driver had sped up and was going about 85 miles an hour. As far as I know, he never exceeded the speed limit, so it was a little bit weird. For some reason, I couldn't fall asleep like the rest of my teammates, and I just sat at the back of the bus staring out across the desolate desert landscape that was lit up by the full moon. As I looked out, I could see a figure running towards the bus at an angle of pursuit and keeping up with the bus at 85 miles an hour. As the figure got closer, I saw that it was in humanoid form. As a matter of fact, it looked exactly like a human, only that the face was painted half black and half white with glowing eyes. Glowing eyes like a rabbit's eyes reflecting light from a spotlight. I immediately thought, holy crap, it's a skinwalker. The skinwalker ran up to the edge of the road and just kept up pace with the bus, hurdling sagebrush and rocks while staring at me. After I made eye contact with it, I could not look away. It was as if something was holding my head and eyes in place. The skinwalker just smiled at me, this inhuman smile that went ear to ear, showing crooked yellow pointed teeth. I felt like I was going to throw up, and I was panicking through the whole ordeal. The skinwalker started to crumble down onto all fours, still keeping up with the bus. I could see his bones crack and reform, and hair started appearing all over the skinwalker's body, and in about 3 seconds was now a coyote, and it ran off back into the desert out of the view. As soon as it was gone, I ran to the onboard bathroom and puked a mixture of food and blood. I didn't want to tell anyone for fear they would think I was crazy. I confided in my Navajo friend, and she told me that I needed to see the chief, who also happened to be a friend of mine, and get a blessing. I saw him the next school day in the parking lot, and he just came up to me and mumbled something in Navajo, and then he turned around and got in his truck and just drove away. To this day, I haven't seen another skinwalker. It might be due to the fact I moved away from that town and res, and if I do have to go south again, I go around. Like, way around. When I was about 11, we lived in a small house made of mud and stone. It was 2 of my brothers and I in the house, and everyone else had gone to the James feast and led us to tend the sheep. We were getting ready for bed when we heard the dogs going crazy outside. Thinking it was nothing more than coyotes howling in the distance, we told them to be quiet. We began to drift off into sleep, and the dogs would not shut up. Somehow I was able to go to sleep for a few hours, and then I woke up very late in the night. It was very quiet and still in the house, save for my brother snoring and breathing. I realized I needed to use the outhouse and woke up my brother to take me there. He teased me about being scared, which I certainly was. We went out with our flashlight to the outhouse, and the dogs began with their crazed barking out in the sagebrush, going from one place to the next. My brother went first, and I waited outside for him. While waiting, I tried to follow the dogs with my flashlight, and suddenly there was a very loud whine from one of the dogs. Then everything went quiet again, and it was really too quiet for that time of the year. Not even the sheep were making noise, and suddenly I heard a few of the dogs going completely mad by the truck. When I looked over, There was this man. He was unbelievably tall, leaning one arm on the cab roof of the truck. He was looking at the dogs for a little and then suddenly kicked one of them. They all scattered in different directions, and the thing looked up at me, and I saw its face. It had a pure white face, like a full moon, two burning red eyes, and a slight smile that was pure black. I could not move or make a sound, and it began to walk toward me with long strides until it finally towered over me. All I began to see was a dark red, like the color of the blood when you cut the throat of a sheep. I kept getting deeper and deeper into its eyes, and I could faintly hear my brother coming out of the outhouse. Then it started looking at him, and reality came rushing back to me. I noticed that my brother was too distracted with his buckle to realize what was going on. I noticed its long hands hovering just inches from my head. Its skin was black ash, and he smelled like a bloated dead animal in summer. I was still unable to move or speak, and the Skinwalker began to move toward my brother. Finally noticing this figure, my brother became paralyzed as I was. Closer and closer it drew, reaching an arm out toward my brother's head, and something finally sapped in me. I became unbearably angry. I broke from the trance and lunged at the Skinwalker, raising my arms like a wild animal and baring my teeth at it. A growl came out that I never knew I could make, and I became more and angrier at the thing that was trying to hurt us. It kept that smile at first, but the angrier I got, the more the smile faded. Finally, with everything I had, I began to make this primal roar at it, and it fell backwards and ran away into the night, looking back at me, and its eyes were dim and dull, and its smile now long since gone. The next morning, the family returned home from the feast, and after relaying the story to my parents, they quickly hired a medicine man.